Okay, great. Can you see the slides now, Wendy?
Yes, I can.
Fantastic. So we have started our live webinar. We so far have 6 viewers, including, I guess, us 4. Let me.
Okay, we'll wait a little bit.
No, it's not included.
It's not included us. Yes, exactly. So, hello everyone. Hello everyone that has joined us today. We have Wendy with us today that is representing Newcastle University. We have Goda that will be talking today about her studies, and also we have a very nice gentleman between this lady crew today. His name is Alexis, and he will also be talking today about certain very interesting studies that he has been studying in Newcastle University. So it's 4 minutes past 4, and if you are ready, Wendy, let's start the webinar. And if our lovely viewers have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask us in English and Lithuanian, and we will be able to answer all your questions.
Great, thanks, Veronica.
Thank you, Wendy.
Okay, everyone. Well, you're a small group, but we're delighted that you've joined us today. We're going to give you a real picture of what it's like to study at a UK university. I'm going to talk to you for a few short minutes about Newcastle University, which was where we're all from, but then really it's a chance for 2 of our students who are studying with us now. We have Goda, who is a 4th year student studying chemistry, and we have Alexis, who is a 2nd year student studying computer science. And they're going to talk to you about their true and honest experiences of leaving home and going over to the UK to study. So next slide, please. So just give you a short introduction to the university. We have a long history at Newcastle University. Our history dates back to 1834, when we started our life as a medical school. And in those days, it was just medicine and dentistry that we were teaching. But over the years, over 180 years, we've grown to be a university of 29,000 students. And we have a campus in Newcastle in the UK. We also have one in Malaysia for medicine, and we have an engineering campus in Singapore. So Newcastle University gets everywhere. The picture you can see is kind of like the front door of the university. That's our student union, and behind it the Armstrong building, which is where lots of our subjects are taught. Next slide, please. So just a little bit about our reputation. Newcastle was one of the founding members of the Russell Group. That is a group of 24 research-intensive universities in the UK. So they're all high-quality institutions that form that group. Oxford and Cambridge are part of the group. Edinburgh is, Durham is, Birmingham, and Newcastle, amongst a few others. So you know that you'd be going to a really top university. This year, we have reached the highest position in the rankings that we've ever had. We're currently 134th in the QS World Rankings and 140 in the Times Higher Ed. So that's comparing lots and lots of universities around the world, and we are in the top 150, which we're very proud of. Within the UK itself, it depends on which ranking you look at, but we average between 22 and 20. Is that also 20? Yes. So yeah, top 25, we would say overall. And then some of our subjects are actually in the top 10. Okay, next slide, please. And not just the rankings, but also we have a good reputation for student satisfaction. When we did the last International Student Barometer, which was in 2017, where they sort of did a temperature check on what different students thought of different universities, we were actually in the top 5 in the UK and in the top 20 worldwide. Really big thing about Newcastle is our impressive reputation for graduate employability. So that's how many of our students go on to get good jobs at the graduate level, not just any old job, a proper graduate level, well-paid job. And we have lots of the main employers nationally and internationally who come onto our campus looking for our graduates to employ when they finish their degrees. So careers, employability, that's a really big focus at Newcastle. Next slide, please. Just in case you don't know where we are located in the top northeast corner of England. We're the most northern university in England, but of course above England is Scotland, and we're 1.5 hours away from Edinburgh, the capital of Scotland, and we're just under 3 hours by train away from London. And then we're also very well connected to places like Manchester, Leeds, Liverpool, etc. So I often find students come to us, but they might have friends who are at other universities, and they find it very easy to travel by train or by bus around the country to meet those Lithuanian friends. We have our own international airport in Newcastle, and that's based 20 minutes away from the campus. And you can get flights to all sorts of cities all over Europe. Sadly not to Vilnius or Kaunas yet, but I'm sure one of these days we'll manage to do a deal with the cities in Lithuania, because we seem to have so many students coming over from there. But you can fly very easily into Edinburgh, for example, or I think it's Leeds, and then take a train up to Newcastle. Next slide, please. The students are going to talk about this more, but I just wanted to say Newcastle has a great reputation as a fantastic student city, and it's often voted one of the best in the UK, if not the world. And one of the reasons for that is we have really good affordability. And I'm sure Godda will talk to you a little bit about that, because she spent the last year in Oxford, where she found things tremendously expensive as compared to Newcastle. So yeah, it's really good in terms of accommodation costs, transport costs, and general going out and being a student costs. Things are much cheaper in the north. We have loads of beautiful nature. We have more castles in our part of England than any other part of the UK. And in fact, many of our castles have been the setting for films. So for example, Harry Potter was filmed using Alnwick Castle, which is just half an hour up the road from Newcastle. And Bamborough Castle, that was the setting for some Indiana Jones films, and also something else that it's gone from my mind right now, but yeah, there's lots of really beautiful architecture and history to see. Okay, next slide, please. And then this is just a very quick look at what you can actually study at Newcastle. I've prepared this like a quick A to Z of all the subjects that we offer at undergraduate level. So everything, you can see the first picture there, that's architecture. And then underneath that we've got dentistry. They're in the lab listening to the lecturer. And then if we can go on to the next slide, please. We have marine biology there. And then that rather strange picture below is in one of our medical laboratories. And Newcastle is very famous for its medical degrees and also biomedical sciences. That's a very popular subject with Lithuanians to choose. I would say probably biomedical sciences and computer science that Alexis is a student of. They're the top two. Okay, and then the next slide, please. That's the final, down to the letter U. We have a sport and exercise science degree, which is a really interesting one. Psychology there, and you can see somebody, they're doing some tests on somebody's brain. So yeah, a whole range of courses that you can choose from. Next slide, please. And then just to say a very small point about research, Newcastle being a member of the Russell Group, we are a research intensive university. So your lecturers are teaching you, but a big part of their time is actually spent doing research. And when you're a second or a third year student, you often get the chance to work with some of the professors in your degree on their research, and that can be immensely rewarding and fascinating. And that just shows you there those different topics. Aging and health is a really big thing at Newcastle. Data, we're really highly ranked for our commitment to sustainability and the planet. So that's a really good thing. So yeah, a lot of what you'll be taught is very much informed by the research of our academics. And that's a great thing. So you're getting the most up-to-date knowledge in the field in a particular area. Next slide, please. Okay, here's the exciting bit. Money, 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 money. Okay, if we can move on. The next slide. So this is the bad news, but don't panic because the good news is coming. So the bad news is that after Brexit, all UK universities now have to charge European students, including Lithuanians, international fees. And these, I'm afraid, are the international fees at Newcastle. So you can see they're very high, and you probably think, oh my goodness, I'm just going to leave this webinar right now because I can't afford those fees. However, some good news is coming. The living expenses that you see at the bottom of the slide, those are the official, that's the official amount of money that I have to say it costs to be a student in Newcastle for a year, £9,000 to £12,000 a year. And that includes absolutely everything. However, the reality is, and maybe the students can comment on this later, you may be able to live for less than that if you are careful with your money. Your biggest expense as a student will be your accommodation. Many students choose to live in university accommodation in their first year, but then they move out into private accommodation in their second and third year. And yeah, accommodation is one of the biggest expenses. But if you're careful and you do your research and you're willing to live with other people in your second and third year, or maybe even your first year as well, you can get some good deals on accommodation. Next slide, please. Now the good news is coming. So, as I said, those are the tuition fees at Newcastle University for international students. But the good news is that we have launched a really great scholarships program for all our EU students. And we're offering what is essentially a discount off the international fee of between 50 to 60%, which takes the fee down to almost the same level as what a home student pays. So that's around £9,000 a year, £9,250. And that's automatic. So anybody from the EU who's living in the EU at the time of application and who applies will automatically be awarded either a 50 or 60% discount. And the discount depends on which subject you are studying. And we have a long list on our website of all the different university schools. So if you do a computer science program, for example, you get the discount that it says for the computer science school. And the same for chemistry, the same for any subject that you would choose. So those are automatically awarded, and it's for every year of your studies, which is amazing. So you'll pay around £9,000 to £10,000 per year. But then, in addition, we have the Vice-Chancellor's EU Excellence Scholarship, and we have quite a few of these to give away to high-achieving students. They will get an additional £6,000 discount. So imagine the fee you start with is £20,000, then we discount it down to about £9,000, And then if you get awarded one of these Vice-Chancellor's Excellence Scholarships worth £6,000, you take away the 6,000 from the 9,000, and that means you only have £3,000 per year left to pay. Now, I don't know of any other high-quality Russell Group university who is offering this. We have got the best deal out there, and it's mainly because I was fighting very hard to get these scholarships for my EU students. And also, to be fair, the university recognises the importance that EU students give in our academic community, you know, having Lithuanians in the class or Germans in the class or Italians, it really adds a diversity that we wouldn't have otherwise. So that's why we're offering these scholarships for the next 5 years. Our business school is offering one full scholarship, so 100% of the fees for 3 years will be paid to an undergraduate student, and 100% of the fees to one postgraduate student for their 1-year masters. So that's something else. So the Vice-Chancellor's Excellence Scholarships of £6,000 and the Vice-Chancellor's Business School Scholarships are worth, sorry, they're not worth, they're, you have to apply for them. You have to apply for them. And there's information about that on the website if you just type in the name of those scholarships. Okay, thank you. Veronica, can we move on, please? And then just very quickly, I'll just put there our typical entry requirements for an undergraduate student. So I've put, first of all, the British student requirements, which are called A levels. And then international students sometimes study something called IB. But the Lithuanian requirements are, as stated there, 8.5 overall in your brandos attestatas. Yes, I did it right. Plus an 80% average in 3 state matura exams. And that is comparable to a course which is asking for AAB at A level. So if your course is asking for 3 A's, then it will be higher. We will be asking for 85% average in 3 state exams. If it's asking for less than 2 A's and a B, then it will be 5% lower. It will be 75%. So I hope that makes sense, and I hope that's clear, but if not, we can talk about it at the end. We also require some proof of your English language ability. That's very important, and usually Lithuanian students take IELTS. Some of our degrees ask for IELTS 6, but most ask for 6.5, and then 1 or 2 ask for 7 or 7.5. But I'm talking about the average requirement here. Lovely, thank you. Next slide, please. Yes, so now I'm going to shut up and I'm going to hand over to the lovely Goda and the lovely Alexis, who are going to speak to you in Lithuanian because it will be easier for you to understand. Thank you.
Tai ką, dabar lietuviškai pakalbėsim. Iš esmės, neaišku, ar lengviau čia mums ar ne, kai tie gyvenam Anglijai. Ir man atrodo, galim pradėti iš esmės nuo Alekso. Ir next slide, prašau.
Yes. Kita skaidrė, prašau. Tai visų pirma, nors universitete mokaisi kaip ir mokykloje, skirtumas tarp mokyklos ir universiteto gyvenimo yra didžiulis. Ir tai, kaip yra paminėtas skaidrės, yra didžiulis žingsnis. Nes universitete nereikės kiekvieną dieną eiti į paskaitas, bet daugiau laiko turėsi praleisti savarankiškai mokydamasis, nes nėra tokios kontrolės kaip mokykla, kas, manau, yra gerai, nes tai ne tik duoda daugiau laisvo laiko pasiskirstimui, bet ir universiteto patirčių. Ir nebereikalo universiteto gyvenimas taip ir vertinamas kaip vienas geriausių laikotarpių gyvenime, nes mokykloje būna labai griežta, o vėliau po universiteto darbe nebebūna tiek laisvo laiko ir būna daugiau atsakomybių, tai reikia šį laiką vertinti. Kalbant apie laiką, ir jo valdymą, tai kaip ir minėjau, kadangi universitete atsiranda daug atsakomybių, reikia pačiam pasiskirstyti savo biudžetą, laiką ir pačiam nusistatyti prioritetus. Ir mokykloje galbūt dažnai buvo primenama apie namų darbus ir kontrolinius ar kažką panašaus. Universitete tai kažkiek skiriasi nuo mokyklos.
Pakalbėsiu bendrai apie gan svarbų klausimą, nes šitas dažnai iškyla žmonėms, tai yra apie draugų radimą iš esmės. Reikia vieno dalyko nepamiršti, universitetas yra tikrai labai didelis, daug studentų atvykusių iš įvairiausių šalių, bet jie turi vieną tikslą - studijuoti. Tad nuolatos sutinki naujus žmonės ar kažkokie eventai, paskaitos, savanoriavimas, darbas šalia studijų, šiaip susibūrimai, vakarėliai, you name it. Ir gali susirasti draugų per visus va šitus tokius ar eventus ar dar kažką. Ir reikia atsiminti, kad visi studentai yra tokioje pačioje arba labai panašioje situacijoje. Tai jie atvyko studijuoti ir dažniausiai iš kitos šalies ar kito miesto turi panašią situaciją va kaip tu, kuris atvyksta studijuoti naujai ir yra linkę bendrauti, sutikti naujų žmonių ir nėra susiformavę dar kažkokių bendrų uždarų draugų grupių, kas galimai gali vykti vėliau, bet tikrai ne pačioje pradžioje. Ir galimybės, aišku, labai daug galimybių iš esmės, nes vis tiek galėčiau išsiplėsti apie klubus ir societies ir jų labai daug, bet tai gal padarysiu kitoj slide, nes bus labiau su student experience, bet bendrai paėmus tai visiškai nuo tavęs priklauso tiek iš karjeros pusės, tiek iš pramogų, yra visada kažką, ką gali nuveikti, tai tiesiog eik daryk, užsirašyk ten, pakalbėk su dėstytoju, galbūt šitą darbą, apsiimk šitą darbą. Ir basically tavo pačio laikas, tavo pačio noras.
Labai pritariu. Ir tada požiūris į europiečius po Brexito. Asmeniškai aš nelabai apie tai girdžiu, bet tikiu, kad daugam tai atrodo kaip didelė problema. Bet iš patirties galiu pasakyti, kad visa international bendruomenė universitete yra labai draugiška ir tai galbūt truputėlį pervertintas požiūris į Brexito situaciją.
Dar galėčiau pridėti, kad Newcastle laikomas vienas draugiškiausių miestų visoje Anglijoje ir tai tikrai jaučiu, aš sakyčiau, jis per daug draugiškas, bet tarkim, kai atvykau pirmaisiais metais, tikrai turėjau kultūrinį šoką. Dabar jau pripratau, bet buvo tikrai kultūrinis šokas šito klausimu.
Aha, pritariu. Sekančią skaidrę, prašau. Vienas geriausių dalykų turbūt Anglijos universitete yra atostogos ir mažiau egzaminų. Tai šiais metais mes su Goda turim atostogas žiemą, kurios trunka nuo gruodžio 17 iki sausio 12, pavasario nuo kovo 25 iki balandžio 25, tai visas mėnesis, ir vasaros nuo birželio 17 iki rugsėjo 20, kas yra mano manymu nemažai atostogų ir tai tikrai vertinu, bent jau aš. Taip pat mažiau egzaminų ir daugiau kitokių atsiskaitymų būdų, kaip kurso darbų, grupinių projektų, praktinių paskaitų. Ir negaliu palyginti su Lietuvos universitetu, bet mano nuomonė Britanijoje yra daugiau laisvės ir mažiau spaudimo ir tai labai svarbu netgi studijuojant. Toliau vienas dar geras dalykas, kad lankomumas dažnai priklauso nuo kurso, kurį studijuosit. Tačiau universitetas labai padeda su iškilusiom problemom, kad ir kokios jos būtų. Kiekvienas turi savo personal tutor, kuris lietuviškai būtų auklėtojas. Ir jį gali kreiptis bet kokiu klausimu, jis tikrai tau padės. Realiai universitetui labiau rūpi tavo sveikata ir pirmiausia jie kreipsis, ar tau viskas gerai, o ne kaltins už praleistas paskaitas. Asmeniškai mano kursas turi daug per atstumą paskaitų, nei kiti, daugiau. Todėl daug ką galiu mokytis ir namuose. Bet dažniausiai reikia susitikti dėl kokių komandinių projektų todėl gaunasi geras balansas tarp gyvų paskaitų ir darbo namuose. Ir tai tik padaro viską įdomiau.
Pakalbėsiu šiek tiek apie, ant kiek sufokusuoti yra patys kursai, tai, ką tu pasirinkai studijuoti. Tai nėra modulių, kurie nėra tiesiogiai susijęs su studijų programa. Ir pats bakalauras Anglijoje yra 3 metai, o ne kaip Lietuvoje 4 metai. Ir magistras dažniausiai yra po 1 metus. Ir visi moduliai yra tik apie tavo dalyką ir iš esmės tikrai paruošia darbui ir iš visų pusių apeinamas dalykas. Aš studijuoju chemiją ir mano visi moduliai turi žodį chemija juose ir viskas, ką mes darom, tai yra chemija, chemija, chemija. Aš daugiau nieko neturiu, kas nesusijęs būtų su tuo. Ir pats mokymasis susideda, kaip ir Aleksas minėjo, kad ne tik iš paskaitų ir visokių, ne tik iš paskaitų ir aišku, nuo kiekvieno dalyko priklauso, bet aš asmeniškai turiu 15 valandų per savaitę laboratorijų, kas su kursu būtų susiję, tada visokie seminarai, grupiniai darbai, tutorialsai vadinami, kai susitinki su dėstytoju, dar 4-3 studentai ir aiškinatės kažkokį tai material, kad geriau suprasti. Ir yra workshopai visokie ir kai kurie kursai taip pat turi vizitus į kitas įmonės arba kažkokius sites, ypatingai, pavyzdžiui, kas yra su archeologija, kaip žinau, jie varo kasinėti, kas yra visai fun, bent jau skamba fun. Kitas slide, prašau. Taip, pakalbėkime apie biblioteką. Kalbant apie Facilities and Services, universitete labai populiaru daryti savo coursework bibliotekose. Bibliotekos pačios yra labai modernios, daug vietos, kavinės on site. Ir ten po dešinę pačioje galite matyti vieną iš bibliotekos aukštų. Ir kitose aukštuose būna įrengti privatesni stalai, jeigu nori atsijungti totaliai ir mokytis ilgesniam laikui. O viršuje po kairę matosi kalbų centras, įsikūręs vadinamoje senojo bibliotekoje. Ten galima rasti filmus, knygas, sign-upintis mokomosioms kalboms sesijoms 1-1 ar su grupe, jei nori išmokti arba kažkokią kalbą pasipraktikuoti savarankiškai, su pagalba, visiškai priklauso nuo tavęs, kokiu būdu tai norėtum daryti. Ir taip pat universitetas turi savo filmų platformą, kur gali tiesiog įsijungti ir žiūrėti kitų šalių filmus. Ir tai ypatingai gera pagalba, jei iš tikrųjų nori naują kalbą kažkokią išmokti. Kitas slide, please.
Tai naktinis gyvenimas, turbūt vienas aktualiausių dalykų studentui. Ir Newcastle yra puikia vieta tam, nes tai yra oficialiai vienas geriausių miestų studentams, kadangi čia yra labai daug studentų, kurie nori patirti studijų patirtį. Ir Newcastle yra daugiau negu 260 klubų ir barų. Ir manau, kiekvienas rastumėt kokią aplinką jums prie širdies.
Pakalbėkime apie accommodation ir house shares. Nes čia svarbus topic, that's for sure. Tai kai kurie studentai gyvena universiteto arba privačiuose bendrabučiuose, kiti pasiema house shares vadinamus. Kiekvienas variantas turi savo pliusų ir dažniausiai, pavyzdžiui, bendrikai yra labai arti universiteto, kaina yra nuo iki, o išsinuomavus kambarį pliusas yra toks, kad dažniausiai žemesnė kaina, didesnis kambarys, bet galimai bus gal 20-30 minučių pėškute nuo pačio universiteto, arba jei paimsim su dviračiu, gal kokios 7 minutės, kas naudojama daugumos studentų. Bet nesvarbu, kur gyveni, miestas yra labai kompaktiškas, palyginus su kitais Anglijos miestais ir labai tikėtina, kad nereikės naudotis kažkokiam viešo transporto priemonėm ir iškart galima sutaupyti ant šito. Gyvenau Oksforde daugiau negu 15 mėnesių ir, tarkim, palyginus kainas, Newcastle house share galbūt kainuotų 300 svarų, o ten blogiausias kambarys, kokį galėtum rasti, būdavo apie 650 svarų. Tai tas toks skirtumas yra gan didelis.
Jo, ir pats gyvenimas Newcastle yra vienas iš priimtiniausių kainų, ypač studentams, todėl nes nuoma palyginus su kitais miestais, kaip Goda minėjau, yra maža. Aš kiek esu ieškojęs, Newcastle mieste yra mažiau nei 300 svarų per mėnesį. iš pradžių netrodė taip pigu, nes galvoje dar buvo Lietuvos miestų nuomos kainos, bet kai pagyveni ilgiau ir pamatai, kokios iš tikrųjų kainos vyrauja Anglijos miestuose, tai pradedi vertinti nuomos kainą. Ir papildomos išlaidos priklauso nuo pačio žmogaus, nes kiekvieno gyvenimo būdas skirtingas. Tačiau jeigu per daug neišlaidauja, šis miestas yra puikia vieta ir be didelės finansinės pagalbos. Ir renginiai. Tai Newcastle Universitete yra labai daug renginių. Vienas jų yra Freshers Week. Tai yra pirmakursių vieta susiburti ir susirasti draugų ir kursiokus. Dažniausiai tai būna visokie ėjimai į klubus, į nemokami pietus geriausiuose Newcastle restoranuose ir panašiai. Juos organizuoja societies, clubs ir students union, kas yra big thing here. Ir todėl veikti yra ką? Svarbiausia atsirinkti, kas patinka.
Students Union Newcastle taip pat labai daug eventų visokių organizuoja, savanoriavimus, Give It A Go programą jie daro, kai gali pabandyti kažkokią naują sporto šaką ar veiklą ir pažiūrėti, ar tau tiktų ar nelabai, koncertus visokius, ir jie dar turi savo barą, šiame Students Union pastate. Tai iš esmės pabaigai pastatą ir tau už vienos minutės kelio yra baras, jei norėtum išgerti alaus tarp paskaitų. Nėra prasta idėja, bet nerekomenduoju. Ir kalbant apie societies ir clubs, bendroje sumoje yra virš 160 sporto klubų ir bendruomenių. Kaip pavyzdžius duosiu, taip yra visi tradiciniai sportai, kašė, tinklinis, stalo tenisas, gimnastika, plaukimai, video žaidimų bendruomenė, lietuvių bendruomenė yra tikrai nemaža. Ir tada yra visokių įdomių bendruomenių susikūrusių, kaip urvų vizitai ir banglenčių sportas. Čia verta taip pat paminėti prie banglenčių sporto, kad jūra yra 25 minutės su metro nuo miesto centro, tai labai greitai galima atsirasti jau prie jūros. Yra pokerio bendruomenės, šuolio su parašiutu, šaudimo su lanku, DJ, kepimo, bičių priežiūros. Website yra pilnas sąrašas, bet jų yra tikrai labai daug.
Sekančią skaidrę, prašau. Dar viena aktuali tema, tai darbas. Ir Newcastle yra tikrai gera vieta susirasti darbą, ypač studentui, nes didžioji dalis darbdavių yra pripratę prie to, nes mieste yra tikrai daug studentų, kuriems reikia darbo. Ir praeitais metais buvo kiek sunkiau, kadangi daug vietų užsidarė dėl karantino, tačiau šiais metais darbo yra nerealiai daug ir man pavyko susirasti asmeniškai darbą per 2-3 savaitės nuo atvažiavimo. Dažniausiai galima darbą pritaikyti aplink studijas ir pasirinkti mažiau darbo valandų, jeigu spaudžia laikas.
Pakalbėsiu dabar apie bendrą dalyką kaip industrial placements ir study abroad. Tai dauguma studijų programų turi optional pasirinkimą studijuoti metus arba kitoje šalyje, arba daryti 12 mėnesių kaip tokios darbo praktika kažkokia įmonė. Jis yra pilnai apmokama, bet abu dalykai labai vertingi. Ir kadangi tu turi galimybę padirbti kažkokią įmonę, tu susipažini su darbo politika, jų obviously daug ką išmoksti ir iš esmės tu supranti, ar tau tas dalykas tiktų ar nelabai. Ir taip gali paskui sekančius karjeros choices daryti lengviau, nes padirbai įmonėj, tu žinai jau, ar tau tai patiktų ar nelabai. Nes galbūt tau tai visiškai nepriimtina yra. Ir karantino metu man pasisekė, kad galėjau išvažiuoti į work placementą ir viskas, ką dariau, tai dirbau laboratorijose kiekvieną dieną, kas man labai patiko, atlikinėjau eksperimentus, rašiau mokslinius darbus. Ir man tai padėjo iš esmės suprasti, kad jo, man reikėtų ten eiti. Ir kalbant apie karjerą po studijavimo, tai ypatingai jeigu tu neėjai tam, kad eitum, bet kažką darai ekstra, ar tai savanoriavai, dirbai kažkur, gal placement kokį pasiėmei, internshipą, eventus attendinai, iškart pasidarai labai patrauklus įmonėms, kas be ko Anglijoje žiauriai daug išvystytų industrijų yra, palyginus su Lietuva. Darbo pasiūlymų yra pilna ir mano atveju ypatingai, kadangi tai yra mokslo sritis, tai darbų yra tikrai daug, jeigu iš tikrųjų nori. Bet dauguma žmonių išeina, pavyzdžiui, kokius finansus pabaigia chemiją. Ir jo, jeigu turi tokį tikslą, kaip ar kažkokią dream karjerą turite ar dar kažką, tikrai yra labai įmanoma įgyvendinti tuos tikslus. And that's it, basically.
Ačiū. Jo, ir kaip Goda minėjo, mums vis dar yra įdomu atsikėlus eiti į paskaitas, nors mes jau čia net neatsimenu nuo kada, nes Anglija yra puikia vieta ir Newcastle yra puikia vieta siekti savo svajonių.
Next slide, please. Yeah, this is just the final one. Yeah, if you can move the slide on. Sorry, Veronica. We have a range of virtual activities that you can do, or if you find yourself visiting the UK, visiting other universities, and you want to have a campus tour, we can organise that for you. But there are lots of online things now. And if you go on our YouTube channel, you can find all kinds of videos about the university in general, but we also have subject-specific videos as well, which are really good. And then the last thing there, Unibuddy, you can actually speak to a current student online who might be studying the subject that you want to in future. And you can click on the link and find somebody from Lithuania or find another student who's studying the subject, and you can chat with them. So that's a really good way to hear more on top of, I'm sure, what you've heard today from Alexis and Goda. I could understand about 1% of what you were saying, but I was still kind of really interested to just hear the odd words. So thank you both very much for sharing your honest account of life at Newcastle. And I think now we're finished in what we want to say, and we'd be very happy to take any questions that you might have if you want to put them in the chat. And I'm also including my email address there. And if you have questions in Lithuanian, you can send them into my email address, and then I can send them on to Goda and Alexis, and they can decide who's the most suitable to answer, because I won't understand what's being said in Lithuanian. But yeah, thanks for staying with us. Thanks for listening. And yeah, we're very happy to answer any questions you might have now.
Thank you so much, Alexis, Goda, Wendy, for being part of our today's session about the Newcastle University and about the Newcastle itself. It sounds amazing. It sounds as if everybody should go and study there. If our viewers have any questions, please, it's your time to ask them, and it's the time now for the Newcastle University representatives to answer them to you. And if you're feeling a little bit shy asking your questions today, you can always send me, Wendy, an email and ask your questions, and we will always be able to answer them. And obviously, as Kalba is also offering free consultations about studies abroad and about studies in Newcastle University, you can always register and attend a free consultation. We will be able to provide with all the information necessary you need, and we would be able to support you throughout your journey before you go and study.
Okay, so there's one question there actually from Milda,
Yes.
Who's asking, if I have pre-settled status, would I be eligible to apply for the Vice Chancellor's Excellence Scholarship? Okay, good question, Milda. I'm afraid you wouldn't. Those scholarships are for people who have the international fee status. So it's to help them bring down the cost of the fee. But because you have pre-settled status, you can also apply for the loan from the British government through Student Finance England. So you wouldn't need to pay anything at all up front for your education. You can take out the loan and you only start paying the loan back once you've graduated and you're earning a certain amount of money. So international students who don't have pre-settled status, they don't have access to any of those things. So that's why we're helping them with these scholarships. That's the reason for that.
Amazing.
Good question.
And Milda, thank you. It's a great question, actually.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Yeah, but you know, you're not going to pay anything anyways if you get the student loan initially. So
I think it would be worth to mention that most of the current students who are from EU have pre-settled status, and they exactly have this sort of loan that you would be able to get. Yeah,
good point, Goda. Yeah, most of the Lithuanians applied for pre-settled status, and yeah, they came in with their loan in place from Student Finance England, and so they don't need any help with the scholarships. Yeah, we say there's only a certain amount of money, so we save that. Yeah, the loan, it's the student loan through Student Finance England. If you go onto the website of gov.uk, probably, and look up student loan, that will come up. Yeah. Student loan, and everybody gets it. So if you haven't heard about this, then please look into it, because that's the best way to finance your studies. Oh, lovely. Thanks, Veronica, who's called Wendy Ridley today on this thing.
Somehow this webinar was created, and at first the reason why you were not able to log in because I was Wendy for some reason, and then I managed to edit it. And I'm still Wendy in the chat, but the actual Wendy is you.
Yes, that's no problem.
A quick point about pre-settled status. If you do have it, you can actually work in the UK then?
Oh, Goda, thank you so much for actually mentioning it, because we have been informed that if you do have a pre-settled status, you can work in UK. However, you can only work certain hours a month or a week. Is that true?
I'm not too sure about that, but personally, most of the students right now, they have pre-settled status, and if I want to work, I don't think I'm limited in any kind of
no, there's no limit. There's no limit.
I was working full-time for the last year and everything was fine.
Amazing. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's only international EU students who have a limit on how much they can work. So if you have to get a visa to come to the UK, then it's 20 hours per week during term time and unlimited during the university holidays. You can work as much as you want.
Okay, great. Fantastic. That's a very useful information for me as well, because we tend to be receiving this very mixed information, and it's really great to hear the right answer to the question from the people that all actually live there and know the situation. So that's great. Thank you.
Definitely. Any other questions?
I don't think we have any other questions today. Looks like we don't.
Maybe everything the students said may be answered.
That's what I was just about to say, Wendy, because Milda has one more question.
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay, but I was just about to say that the session, the webinar itself, was very, very informative, and I believe we have covered the most necessary points that the student must know before choosing the university. And yeah, I believe that all our viewers that have stayed with us today have a lot of information in their backpack now.
That's great. Yeah. The students worked, Goda and Alexis worked really hard to brainstorm and think about what were the most relevant things that you would like to hear about, and that's great. I think they've hit the spot with everything. So that's
yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you, Wendy.
Okay, so if I have pre-settled status, does that mean that I do not need a visa to study in the UK? Is that right? Yes, that is correct.
That's
Milda.
correct, Milda.
You don't need a visa if you have pre-settled status. But if you haven't got pre-settled status, and there will be people out there that don't have it, then you need to apply for a visa. You need to apply for something called the Immigration Health Surcharge, which covers your medical costs in the UK. But if you have that pre-settled or settled status, you are covered. You can work as much as you like. You get all your medical costs covered. The UK really looks after you if you have pre-settled or settled status. Yeah.
Yeah, basically, if you have pre-settled status, it's a green light for you for whatever you want to do in the UK. If you don't, then now you have like the international status. But every Lithuanian that now comes in has an international status, and that is a bit of a problem because it's slightly harder to do everything. But you're lucky to have a pre-settled status, basically.
Yeah, it's still possible. And I just wanted to say as well, I'm part of a working group of British universities. We are trying to design a kind of roadmap for students who are international now and perhaps don't know the way. We are actually trying to create a graphic that we will use on all our websites, and and you don't need a visa to study in the UK. That's correct. Yes. If you have pre-settled status, you're basically almost like a British citizen. So you don't need any of those other things.
Sorry, Wendy. Sorry for interrupting.
No problem. No, I've just noticed the one from Meda.
Yes. Meda is asking about accommodation. Are there any minuses with living there? Are they very occupied? I guess you are, Meda, talking about the student dorms, if I am understanding you correctly.
If it's student accommodation and university owned, they do guarantee that if you're a first year, you're gonna get a spot. And after, like, if you're like a second or third year, it's kind of dodgy. It's a bit harder to get it. But yes, if you're a first year, it's practically 100%.
Yeah, but you have to apply by a certain date, and that date is usually the 30th of June. Oh, sorry, that's my telephone ringing.
I don't have personal experience living in student accommodation, but I think it's a great thing to meet new people. For example, I lived in a shared house last year. It was still fun, but living in a student accommodation, it just brings students together. So I think it's a great thing, and you should go for it.
I could also add something. I lived in a house share for my first and second years, and third year during the work placement. And I would say I really like it because usually that's also like what you want to do. But in student dorms, you have parties quite a few times a week sometimes. And obviously it's like a personal choice whether you want that or not, really. But it's usually quite loud.
That's true. Yes, you have no control over
our people.
Yeah. But some people say a student dorm is good for the first year because maybe your parents have the peace of mind that you're staying somewhere which is controlled by the university. and you're with lots of other people, so you can make friends more easily. But the disadvantage is, yeah, the loud parties, I would say. Yeah.
I think Milda has another question.
Yes.
Yes, Milda has another question in regards to her status that expires by 2026, and I'm not yet able to apply to settled status. Will I be charged as an international student?
So do you mean, Milda, that you have pre-settled status now, but that's expiring in 2026? Yes. So normally, so you have your pre-settled status, and then once that expires, or during the last year before it expires, you then apply for your settled status, and during that transition, it's fine. You're still seen as a pre-settled student, and therefore no visa, no expensive international fees.
Thank you, Wendy.
Anything else?
Milda, I thought I need to live in UK for 5 years to be able to apply.
For the settled status, no, I think you can have the this pre-settled status is a funny one, because I thought they were only giving it to people who were living in the UK already.
But it's not.
But they didn't. So I'm sure that whenever you got your pre-settled status, they will count the 5 years from when you were granted it.
That's true, because I myself have finished the university in England, and I lived in England for almost 6 years. And when I left, and when I obviously heard that in order to go back to England, to live in England, to do whatever, you need to have those statuses. So I applied for my status as soon as and I straight away got the settled status, because I lived in UK for over 5 years, over a certain period of time. So yeah.
It's been a difficult time, but you know.
Yeah, it's been very challenging, but let's hope it will not be as challenging as it was before.
Yeah. And you've got my email address there, so if there's any questions at all after today, I would be delighted to hear from you. And even if you write it in Lithuanian, I can recognize that it's a Lithuanian email, and I will send it to my 2 glamorous assistants.
Yes, your 2 glamorous assistants, that's right.
Who agreed. Both of them came through Kalba, actually. So, yeah.
That's amazing.
2 ambassadors for you. Yeah, absolutely.
Wendy, are you happy for me to share your email address in the chat?
Yes, that's fine. Yeah.
Fantastic. So if we have no more questions today, we have one more.
So if I spent one of those 5 years for which I have pre-settled in Lithuania, that's not a hurdle. No, I don't believe it is a hurdle. No, you're fine. From the date from when you were given pre-settled status, that's your 5 years from then counting. Don't worry about it. Believe me, there are so many thousands of people that applied and got this status. They are not going to be worried about where you lived for a year.
Yeah. Let's keep it as a secret between us, between these webinar walls.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, guys.
Okay, Milda, thank you.
That's really good. Glad we were able to help.
Yeah, I'm very happy that we were able to provide such a great informative session to our viewers today, and also answer the very probably hot questions, as I like to call them. But we have all the answers.
Yeah.
And if we don't have any more questions, what I will do is that I will say thank you once again. I probably said thank you so many times today that I haven't said in many days. I will stop the webinar now. I will have to say have a great evening. Have a great Christmas, everyone. If I don't hear you in our next webinars this week and the following week. And feel free to contact Kalba in Lithuania and Latvia, and we will be able to help you out in the same way as we helped Goda and Alexis.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. We'll say goodbye. Happy Christmas to you, Veronica.
Oh,
thanks for all your very hard work to help us.
Oh, thank you so much, and I'm so sorry for people. IT glitches today, but we have sorted it out. I'm really happy we are all here. I'm really happy for this this webinar. It was really great. Thank you, Goda and Alexis. And I wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and follow your dreams. Thank you, Wendy, so much for being so patient and lovely.
Bye. We'll see you again, hopefully in the new year.
You will do, trust me. Great.
Okay.
Thank you so much, guys.
Okay.